Hello everyone, and welcome to another devlog for our indie game Kingsblood. Now, in the last couple of weeks we've always picked out specific topics which we talked about: dungeons, the progression system, housing. But while we work on these bigger things, we always find time to polish up some smaller things. That video today will be about all these little minor things which are not talked about in all the other videos. So let me start out with a change to our UI. Now, if we go here, then you see our follower panel, and it has been completely overhauled. So that you can see a comparison how it used to look just a couple of days ago and how it looks now. I show you this little animation. And as you can see, there are some dramatic changes. Now, this UI right here has not only improved visually, but also in terms of functionality. What we already were able to do was that we had a search integrated, right? We could search characters like Rastuval, and just let me say that the filter results also are not completely finished yet, because the portraits should be displayed right here on the top and should be the same size as the original portraits. And but now we also have these filters right here. Also, they still need a little bit of love, because what we want to have these drop downs combined with icons. For instance, when you select an assassin, then you also have the assassin icon, so we can find it faster without reading all that stuff. So why do we even need these filters? These filters are meant that you can easily find characters which are fitting for a potential group you want to build, right? Let's say you have a group with 2 halflings and 2 specialists, and you want to have the synergies for both halflings and specialists, meaning you need a halfling specialist. So let's select specialists. You see, these are the specialists we currently have. And then let's say you also go for the halfling. Whoops, I pressed the wrong button. The halfling. And then you see here, now we found Bodo. And then you can look through all the stuff he does, and potentially he's fitting for your current group. So that's how all of that works. And of course, this is just one example of beautification of the game. Let's call it like that. We plan to do that for a lot more of the UIs, which in terms of functionally they work, but like I said, we want to put our hands on it and make them a little bit more beautiful, like this UI or the city UI. Now, we also changed some minor things on the world map. We also added a new UI element. You cannot see it because my face is blocking it, but now you can see it, and I don't want to spoiler what it is. Maybe just by the look of it you might have an intuition what it could be, but that will be part of another video, because it is one of the main mechanics which we want to bring into the game. But there are a lot of more smaller details which we updated. An example is the turn button, right? Let me press the turn button. I think the first time you press the turn button there is actually a small lag, but after that you see now we have a 360 degree turn. And what is also cool is that the sand in the hourglass is falling down, right? So it turns around. It's actually a 180 degree turn, I think, and then the sand falls down. It gives the player a little bit of interactivity. Does it add anything in terms of complexity or gameplay? No. But is it fun? Yes, I think so. And I think we need a lot more of these cool interactive things. Maybe that the door opens. Time will tell if we have enough time to do that stuff. I think the big topics are always more important. Now, let's look at these 2 icons right here. So these always used to be static. This here was a display for the followers, and this here was a display for the cities. Those cities where you have a spokesman. In our game, if you send spokesman to a city, right, then you can get quests from that city. And if you see, if I send spokesman now to the cities, then this number here counts up. The problem is all these spokesmen cost upkeep. Now if we press the turn button, we lose a lot of gold. Well, the trade-off is that we also get quests. This also works for followers. Now the correct number of followers would be shown if we would add followers. The starting value is static currently, but if we would update the number of followers, then this would also work. At the moment I cannot add followers because I deactivated the dialogues. But here we also have a small change. Now let's select a quest and bring in some of our followers, and then you can see when we send them on a mission, they also got a new follower circle. So this also was more or less with a line renderer before, but particles now, which I feel look a little bit more beautiful. We also have that for invasions. Maybe we have an invasion spawning soon right here. So this circle now is red, used to be white, also uses the same particles, and maybe we should also change this path right here to red. So these are all super tiny details, but I think they are kind of cool. Now, I think now comes the biggest update, which we did not talk about before, and probably we could have made a video alone about that, but let me show you this right now. We have a special button. If I press the B on my keyboard, I can just jump into a combat. And also in combat you see that we beautified some things. First of all, we changed the coloration of the health bars. So all of the health bars used to be green, and then the more damage you took, they changed the color. Now we felt that in order that you can distinguish the different teams, it was better that we gave your allies a green and the enemies a red. Also a little detail which changed is that we used to show the synergies only of the players. Right here is an unknown race. I don't want to tell which race. That would spoil a little bit. But now we also added this for the enemies, and this did not work for the enemies. Now it does. And you can see here we have 3 wolves, so they are animals, so they get an animal buff. They are all earth, and they are all fighters, front fighters, and that makes them quite tough. I'm not sure how that actually works. They don't have texts right now. But the big change is that we just now added that terrain cannot just be ignored. You can see it right here. If I try to position this orc on the front, I cannot put it on the fence. So the fence is blocking the tiles where he can move. And this offers you a lot of strategic options. If I would put them right here, the problem would not be that big, because you could just walk through the fence and then could attack the wolves. Well, a bit boring. Now that's much cooler, because I can put him right here and he can block the entrance to the range fighters. And this can have quite a difference on the outcome of fights. So the way how you utilize the surroundings. Just imagine I would put the orc and the other melee right here, Quell and Garnak, and I would just put the ranges right here. It's a bit constructed, of course, but I just want to show you the system. And if I press start, then these guys have to move all the way around until I reach the until I reach the enemies. And as you can see, Garnak is even locked out of the fight. So before you could even enter the fight, one of our allies died. So as you see, it is quite a tough fight. And we can now speed this fight up also. You see, we also got a new option to speed up the fight if you're bored by long fights. And you see, it is quite tough to... We were a bit lucky that Quell right here survived with just a little bit of life. Now let's redo that fight and maybe choose a better positioning. I'm not 100% sure what would be the best positioning, but probably something like that, because what I want to try is that I want to try to bring a wolf into that choke point. Maybe I succeed, maybe I don't know. Let's see if it works. Right? It didn't work. Okay, oh, and I should deactivate the special attacks. That's a bit lame if I do that. And some of the effects of the special attacks are a bit overpowering at the moment. But As you can see, our ranges from the back line can now do a lot of damage, and the wolf had to walk around the fence without being able to attack the range fighters. So like I said, I think that can add really a lot of cool situations when we integrate bridges, or maybe we set up a door and you first have to bash in the door before you can go behind the door and kill the range fighters behind the door. So a lot of possibilities based on that. How we wanted to first implement this system was that we would shoot down a ray and then just touch the area with the ray, and if something would stand out from the bottom up, so to say, then this area would be blocked. But we felt like if sometimes you have bushes or plants and they would also stand up and block, and it would be a bit stupid if the characters would not be able to walk through the foliage and through the grass, right? So we decided that we create these invisible objects right here. You see, we just called them obstacles. We put them on an obstacle layer, and we still shoot down a ray, but the ray only, so to say, searches for these kinds of obstacles. And if you have an obstacle right here, then you cannot move through the obstacle, you cannot deploy your units on these obstacles, and that's how we designed that feature. Okay, that's it, and for the next 2 weeks we also have something prepared. So we want to keep talking about the dungeons. There has been some progress, and about the leveling system. So stay tuned if you're interested in that, and subscribe to this channel, and see you next week. Goodbye.